Hey folks, this is Lucid. Welcome back. We're going to be doing pretender design for Isphenople. And yeah, a quick overview of the nation. It can be played either sloth or productivity. That's one of the major choices you have to play. You have to make when you play them. And based on that, it will play out differently. In short, if you go sloth, you're going to be focusing more on scribe fencers. If you go productivity, you're going to be focusing more on guardians of knowledge in the early game, and then you're going to transition faster into statues. If you go sloth, you're going to again get the scribes, but you're also going to have philosophers who are going to be phenomenal researchers. Whereas if you go productivity, you're probably going to be using sages mostly to research. Regardless of which way you go, you'll have very good research, but if you go sloth, you will have ungodly research. You have very good magic path access, but not very deep, though it can get deep in communions. And you have some other ways to, like with the special path boosters that only this nation gets, to kind of get your magic paths up to an acceptable level. But they have very expensive forts, and their temples are expensive, though their labs are cheap. So what you will find, in my opinion, with playing them, is that you tend to have not too many forts, and that can end up making some problems in the mid-early game for Dominion pressure. Like, you're not going to have a lot of Dominion spread. Because you're not going to have that many forts, and with Recruit Anywhere things, and then high upkeep costs, you're going to probably just not have that many forts. You can just kind of take my word at it. Now, as you transition to the mid and late game, you probably could choose to fort up if you wanted to. Whether you should or will, I have no idea. But certainly while you're spamming out as many philosophers as the map will let you, you're going to struggle, I think, to fort everything up. If you go for the productivity route, where you're not making philosophers in every province, you are going to need more forts, and therefore Dominion pressure is going to be less of a deal for you. But with Sloth, actually getting your scale spread is going to be a bit of an issue. You also don't have terribly easy access to preachers, though you do have heretics. And what that means is, again, kind of more difficulty spreading your Dominion. But as the game transitions to later, if you can get Juggernaut production set up, you can potentially have a lot of Dominion pressure. So anyway, we're not going to go back through the entire national overview. That's just a quick update. The Sacreds we get, let's talk about that real quick. We get these guys who are potentially Recruit Anywhere, but only after we've cast a 100 Earth Gem spell at Construction 9. Until then, they are only recruitable in your capital and one at a time with the Holy 3 Mage. And then also through some spells. The Juggernauts are also sacred, but that is basically the extent, I believe, of our sacred units. We also have very few sacred commanders. We have this guy who is our preacher. He's our Holy 1. And then we have this guy, the Keeper of High Mysteries, who's a Holy 3, and who's wildly expensive. But yeah, that's the extent of our Holy 3. I mean, of our Holy 1s and Holy 3s. So, if you want to have more sacred units, you have to get some items. Now, the items you can get, there's basically 3 lines of items that will bless you. One is the robes, which only the lore masters can get. This is going to essentially make them upkeep free and even generate you income. They'll also bless him. So, that's one of the things. The other thing is these guys can be blessed with a girdle of something or another. But anyway, we looked at it in the previous episode. So these guys can potentially be blessed. And then with that, they can potentially thug. And then we have the final way to bless is all of our archivists and great archivists. So the great archivist, this guy, and then our archivists, this guy, they can also be blessed with the Scroll of Exorcism. So there's a way to get your bless on a lot of your mages, but I don't think you can get it on all of them. Like, I don't think you can bless your philosophers, which is something if you play sloths, which we're probably going to. I don't think you have a way to bless them exactly. But anyway, that is it. So now let's actually start looking at our god and thinking about what we want. Well, I think there are a few things that you can get with this nation. So one thing you could get is you could get an expander. This is not a nation which I would say excels in expansion. It is not a nation at least I haven't figured out a way to get, 20 plus provinces year one. While you can expand with fencers, your quill fencers and your guardians of knowledge, it kind of takes 3 turns of recruitment to get a decent expansion party. And even then, normally when you get 3 turns of recruitment, you're going to be like, oh, I can run into anything. Not really. Like, you still have to be a little careful. Now, there's some tricks you can do where you can get the stone monstras and they can help you expand, so that's nice. But in no way is that foolproof, right? So even they can die. So anyway, expansion's a little tricky. And if you don't trust yourself expanding and you don't have the time to practice a lot, like let's say you're going to kind of just hop into a game and you're not going to practice expansion, like especially a multiplayer game, I would suggest getting an expander. Because this is a nation for which expansion is tricky. And there's a lot of expander options. You can kind of, you can do the bulls. Any of the bulls will work. You can also do this guy. He's pretty okay if you get him high enough in Earth, because he's got built-in regen. And Earth Astro is a really nice cross path to have too. So anyway, this is a nation I would consider getting an expander on. And I'm somebody where I almost never suggest getting expanders. But expansion's a bit tricky here. Yeah, so there's some other kind of, I'll go over some of the national options too. You've got this guy, the Great Hierophant, which is a very good researcher and fortune teller. But if you get him early, you can have very good scales, a bit of astral, maybe just for arcane finesse. Don't worry too much. You can maybe get a little bit of magic path diversity, get 1 in everything. It's not going to cost much. And get you all your, actually you're going to have lore masters. You don't even need it. You can take him as a super budget awake researcher and really just jumpstart your research into outer space. Because he's going to go like crazy. Or, the other thing is some of the items you have, like the national only items, they can be worn by the Great Sage, but only the Great Sage. So it is worthy to think about this guy. And with Inspiring Researcher, especially if you go the Sloth build, this is basically like getting +1 magic. So this guy you could also go awake, and he will kick your research into outer space. Also probably just pick up Arcane Finesse or something. You also have access to this guy, the Gnostic Grand Master. And he starts with 1 of every magic path. But he's pretty expensive. So if you were going to do this thing anyway, like if you're going to click on each of these and then get them up to like level 3 to do a full Rainbow Bless, if you do that, I'm pretty sure it's actually a decent value, because it's not just the 10 design points you're going to be saving for each path. It's not going to be the 10. What you're really going to get the saving from is the last one you get. So if you get 3 in all the paths, it's really going to be only as expensive as if you had gotten 2 in all the paths. So this can be a pretty significant saving if you're going to go full rainbow. Additionally, he has Dominion Immortality, so pretty good for, let's say, jumping in a communion with a few guys, dropping some huge spells. If he dies, you don't really care. He's built-in Communion Master, so that's kind of nice. It allows him to, cast some maybe self-buff or something the first turn while everybody else jumps in and gets in a communion behind him. Anyway, kind of a cool unit. Definitely worth considering if you're going for a rainbow build. What I think I'm going to do, though, for this nation is I think we're going... And it's a blitz, and I haven't even really looked at all the other nations that are in the game. But, sometimes when you play a nation, how you build your pretender is very important, because in order, like, if Foul Vapors or something comes up, you either have to have a counter in your bless, or you're going to be like completely helpless against a certain opponent. And so on some nations, how you build your god is going to be very important for that. This is not really one of those nations. We're going to be able to research so fast, and we have so much magic diversity that we're going to be able to solve, hopefully, a lot of our problems through research. And we're not going to be very dependent on our god for solving problems for us. So yeah, a Titan also is a decent choice, like a dormant Titan, wake up and kick some ass. And in a blitz, that may be better if I get rushed, because this is also a nation where you're kind of prone to people rushing you a little bit. If I did that, there's a few things I was looking at. One was the Netter of Crafts, because you're going to get Earth Gems per every turn, which is kind of nice. And then the Forge bonus is nice, because we're going to be forging a lot of stuff. And then these are really good paths for a Titan, especially if you're not very worried about Magic Duel. Which, on this nation where we have a lot of Astral, we wouldn't be that worried about it. A lot of cheap Astral. And depending who we're fighting, we might really not worry about it. But anyway, these are paths our nation already has, but we're going to have access to a lot of the paths. Anyway, this is, I think, definitely an option, getting a Titan. We're going to have very fast research, so we'll be able to gear him out pretty early. What's nice about this guy is he has a lot of miscellaneous slots. So I thought pretty hard. We might build this guy out. We'll do this. I think we are going to, we'll build him out later, but this guy's definitely an option. But you could pick probably a lot of the Titans. I tend to like Titans that have the ability to magic phase. And some of these are changed in Hellenika, even though they're kind of the vanilla Titans, they're changed some. But I would say a Titan is a very strong choice, a dormant Titan, because you're going to have so much research. By the time they pop out, you're going to be able to put good gear on them. You can have some basic alteration. All these things already done by the time they pop out. And that's going to really shore you up on the defense, and then even a bit on the offense in your first war. So definitely worth considering getting a Titan. But I think what I'm going to do, though I'm not sure, I have a day to decide, is I think I'm going to go for basically a dormant, one of these guys, immobile. And I think I want Earth Astral in my Bless. The things I want out of my god, I kind of want to run up. I want to be greedy a bit on the globals. And we have a decent Earth income off the bat. And a lot of our good stuff, like the engineers, all cost a ton of Earth. And then basically I want to run up and steal Earthblood Deepwell super early in the game. Like way earlier than anybody would ever expect it. And then after that I want to put up riches from beneath. And that I think is going to give me the basis for a good economy. And then with that, I'm going to be able to get, even though I'm going for a sloth build, I'll have enough resources that I can probably make statues. Which I find appealing. Kind of in some ways getting the best of both worlds. So anyway, that's kind of my thought. But to do that, I need to have at least Earth 6. Or I need to have like a chassis that could wear Earth boots. And potentially put on like I would have to get like a bloodstone or something too to potentially wear too, which would be a bit tricky. So probably like Earth 5 at least. So anyway, we'll look at what that would be like for a Titan. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do the monument, and the monument is interesting because it's 500 hit points. It's extremely hard to kill in 30 protection. This is harder to kill than the monolith, but the monument is truly immobile. It cannot teleport, like you can't monodrop people with this, like it's stuck. But it's freaking impossible to kill. I mean, it's so hard to kill. If we're not going to go terribly high astral, people will be able to magic duel him potentially, but aside from that, very, 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 very hard to kill. So, anyway, this is kind of the build I'm leaning towards. Now, you can also get reinvigoration out of your Earth. It's pretty good. Arcane Finesse is pretty good for the, we are an astral powerhouse. And we can also research really fast. So getting, Master and Slave and a Blitz is actually not crazy on this nation. So anyway, I think Arcane Finesse is probably a pretty good pickup for us. Just stack all that penetration gear. Yeah. Anyway, this is kind of how I'm leaning. And then the Earth 6 is for doing Earthblood Deepwell way, way sooner than anybody reasonably should be able to. Yeah, so the build I'm kind of leaning towards. Now, we're also going high dominion, because if you go scales, you want to be able to spread your dominion, and we're not going to have a lot of forts with temples. So we kind of need to make every fort and temple we have count. So anyway, this is the plan. We're going to get... Now, this is kind of an expendable scale, because this is only going to give us the income. We don't really need it. If you're not going to go hardskin, like instead you're going to do reinvigoration, you could save a little money by cutting down earth, and instead of getting this guy, you could get the Statue of Order, who's also going to spread order scales and reduce unrest. So you could like potentially blood hunt your capital and spread order. So like even if you don't take perfect order scales, you could have better order in your capital. So anyway, there's that. We're going to go Sloth 3 because of Philosophers. We're going to go for neutral temperature for us, which is we have a Heat 1 preference just for money. Again, this is something we might tinker with. This scale and this scale if we get a Titan. We're going to go Growth 3 for money. We're going to go Luck 3 for gems. We're a nation that can make very good use of gems. So the extra gems we get are going to be extremely valuable from Luck. And then Luck Magic is a combo that gives you even more gems. So anyway, we're going to be getting lots of gems, which we like. And then we have Magic Drain. We're going to go Magic 2 because we want things to have low MR in our Dominion, and we will benefit a bit from the extra research. Now, in truth, you could go Drain if you wanted to. This is another scale you could potentially sack because your Philosophers are going to still be researching very, very fast, even in Drain. So long as you took Sloth. So there are a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of nice to haves I have here in the scales. And if we wanted to, we could cut it back. But, like, what would we be getting? The only thing, like, I don't think getting a better Bless would necessarily be more worth it. Though it could be. And I certainly haven't played the nation enough to know. I've never fought against it. I've never played it yet. I've only tested it in single player. So, but I think having a Titan for your first war would be worthy. I think having an expander would be worthy of sacking like your order, sacking your temperature, or sacking drain. I think you do want luck, and I think you do want growth. And you could also sack, order, temperature, drain are the ones I would potentially sack. And then also, if you go productivity, that's going to cost design points. And in my opinion, it's costing design points to kind of give you an inferior build. But I could be wrong. I've never played productivity, and I do think it is stronger in the late game. Especially if you have a decent bless to put on all your sacred statues you're going to be getting. So, this is the build I'm choosing. We're going finesse for the magic penetration. We're going hardskin for our statues. Now, why is hardskin good on this nation? It is good because these guys have high base natural protection, and the way, basically the way hardskin works is it's going to give 5 armor, but it's going to add it directly to natural protection. So in this case, it's going to be a strict addition. They're going to go from 22 to 27, which is a very big jump. It is going to put them out of range of taking any damage from a lot of units. Normal units just won't be able to touch them. It's a very big jump for these guys. And we'll definitely have at least some in the early mid-game, just from having a Holy 3 in our capital, spamming out, basically getting 1 per turn. And then by the late game, it would be really good. But we're also not investing that much in it. Like, this is not a heavy bless, and this will not stack with things like Iron Skin, unfortunately. So it's not going to really be useful for thugs at all. It will potentially be useful early in the game on Stone Monsters, which would be kind of nice. So, I think that is about it, folks. For this build, let's go ahead and name him Thunderstruck. And let's make this other god that we were talking about. I have one more god I'm going to show you, but we'll just make the we'll make the Titan, because I do think there's a strong argument to be made for a dormant Titan. Also, this is another chassis to consider dormant, just because you have Inspiring Researcher 2, and it increases magic. So you potentially could take, like, Magic 1, and then she gets Magic Power, or, like, Magic 2, and this will, in your capital, get it up to Magic 3. And then in conjunction with Inspiring Research, it's going to be +3 to everybody in your capital, and you're going to have a lot of mages in your capital. So this also would maybe be even the best jump starter of research. This is an interesting Titan too, because this Titan new magic pass only costs 20. So you could do Earth Astral or Earth Nature or Earth whatever. Oh, you know something I didn't get that I was thinking about getting, which maybe we'll make another version of it. Let's do another version of this guy real quick. One of the things I was thinking about getting, there's one guy in the game too he's the guy who was Satis in my other game. I put up Burden of Time when it was a horrible idea too, but he just likes putting up Burden of Time. So, and we do have a nation with some old units. So one thing we may consider here too is unaging and poison resistance here. And what this is going to mean, well, first it's going to be reasonably high nature access for us, which will be kind of nice. And secondly, I think we still want to have high dominion. We want to have sloth. We want to be dormant. We want to have growth and luck. Ideally a little bit of magic, and then we can maybe like this. That's kind of what I'm feeling. And so this unaging is going to be nice because when we put the robes on our lore masters, all our lore masters are going to end up being blessed. This will keep them from dying of old age. And they'll die from old age on their own even without Burden of Time. And they're going to be some of our long-term economy, so it would be nice to protect them from that. We're also going to be able to bless our great archivists. And that's also going to help them because they're also old. So anyway, this would be okay on them. Yeah. And then anybody that's important, we can stick a shroud on, and it will kind of protect them from old age if they were going to be old anyway. But it's not really going to be worth doing on like our philosophers and what have you. How about we'll call this guy Walt Disney? I have no idea why that's his name. And we'll do a final thing, which is just creating not final, but almost final, of creating a Titan. And I think we'll do the Netter of Crafts, which is this guy. And I think we'll do a similar thing with him. He'd benefit a fair amount from... Hard skin's not going to be great for him, but it doesn't matter. He's going to just do iron skin. Maybe this would be a better one to get reinvigoration on. Maybe go a bit more budget. Because this guy's going to be able to do earth boots. And then we really just have one more... we need to give him up one more path to be able to do... we need to give him up one more path in order to be able to cast Earthblood Deepwell. So this wouldn't be as early of a timing because we'd probably have to get a little higher construction or something and get like a bloodstone from one of our lore and wait for like an earth blood random from a lore master. So this would be a good bit more tricky, I think, in terms of like a really early Earthblood Deepwell timing. But we then have somebody who can like teleport on top of guys and wreck their shit. So anyway, probably go a bit lower on Dominion if we did this guy. Probably still go Sloth. Maybe we should do also a... yeah, we can still have pretty good scales with this guy. Jesus, look at this. This is pretty good scales. Basically, not guaranteed. This is going to help a lot winning your first war. Having this guy with like real super combatant gear. I mean, this is pretty tempting. If you did a, and I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about the how you do a productivity build, but if you went productivity, you're making a late game play. You're going to be a lot weaker for your first war. I feel like you really would want to tighten. Like, I think going like full imprisoned scales is probably too greedy. So you'd probably take like this guy. I think you'd probably do something like this. I think you would still be able to. I think you would just mostly ignore the quill dudes. We're going to have to sack 2 scales here. I think we might sack temperature. Maybe or maybe you just play this guy and you go a little bit of misfortune. Should take really good income. You could do something like this. You know, misfortune's not great. We're going to miss out on some gym income, but it'll probably be okay. So anyway, for this one, you know, if you're doing this, we're actually going to have to get up. I think we're going to want to go up to 6 here. Because hard skin, the whole point of going productivity is to have a lot of statues. And I think if you go statues, you want to have hard skin. Now, I'm showing you a pretty limited set of all the possible builds here. Like, I'm always kind of doing Earth Astral. You could do a lot of different things. Like, you could consider getting fire resistance because you kind of have fire weakness on a lot of your dudes. And that way, if you're wearing the scrolls, you're not getting torn apart by fire. There's probably a bunch of other things. But we'll call this guy productivity. I'm going to show you just a rainbow build I did real quick. So I took the rainbow pretender where you start with 1 in every path, and we just got a bunch of resistances. We got some reinvigoration. I got reconstruction on this one. You'd actually probably want to do double reinvigoration. A lot of your inanimates do not have don't. There's a tag called does not heal or never heals or something. And some of your statues have it, but your sacred statues do not have it. So probably better to just double down on reinvigoration instead of getting this. But at the time I didn't know that, and I just put this in here. And then Arcane Finesse, pretty good. Undying, because, you know, we have some death points. And then Minor Poison Resistance, Unaging here, because, again, for the reasons we talked about with somebody potentially dropping Burden of Time. Don't want it to kill our good mages. And then Blood Surge. This actually is going to be pretty good on our archivists and stuff if they, if we stack up. They're going to have pretty, very high stats with Unaging because it's, our great archivists, this should get rid of Old Age. And then, Blood Surge is going to give them +3 attack and 1 defense, which would be pretty nice once they're actually out there thugging. So anyway, this is another build. This is Sloth. You can see we have pretty good scales. Here I sacked luck, which I think I would actually probably rather have luck than order. But anyway, that I think is it. I want to check one thing and then we'll kind of call it for this video. I want to let's get an archivist, or a great archivist. And let's make for him. The Great Archivist can use these Bless Scrolls. So let's make for him a Slashing and an Exorcism Scroll. And let's find him real quick. I don't know where it put him. Maybe it put him at the bottom. Yeah, okay, here he is. So let's put these on him. Exorcism and Slashing. Does this not work? Well, he's blessed. Unaging. Does this not work? Okay, maybe the unaging thing is not good, which actually is going to be kind of okay. I think I'm just going to have to kill that player that puts up Burden of Time. So we'll probably make a play to try to kill him if we can, before I have to worry about such things. Quickness. Let's make a lab here real quick. Let's see if it took a turn. No, it doesn't. So I didn't know that, but apparently this doesn't work. I don't think these guys have a flag is old. I can check. Who's our other guys who are old? I know philosophers don't have an is old tag. Let's make we'll make some of these. I don't know if being cursed helps at all. So this guy's 68. And he's still 68. So it doesn't appear... oh, you know what I think it is? Unaging only works on sacred. And this guy is not sacred, he's blessed. And that's a difference. So I don't think it's actually going to work. That is a zinger. So, okay, yeah. Ignore what I said there about taking unaging, not going to do shit via putting it on dudes via items. So... yeah, we'll just have to work our way around that and probably kill the guy who's going to put up Burden of Time. Anyway, yeah, I think that is it. And the other thing is we're going to have potentially such high astral income and such high like gem income in general. We have a pretty good chance at controlling globals. So we can, you know, like dispel Burden of Time and stuff. But yeah, I think that's it, guys. So we're probably not going to do an unaging bless. Whoops. Because, yeah. We'll probably either do the Titan or we're going to do this guy without the nature. So I will see you in the game. Take care.